This week in games, NVIDIA pisses off the whole world. Crimson Desert is using AI-generated images and an actual good story about Subnautica 2. This is the Two Penny Gamescast. What's poppin', players? Welcome back to the Two Penny Gamescast, episode 292. I am your host, Tavin Bothel, here with my good friend and co-host. Say hello to the people, Connor Elliott.
Yes, hello to the people. Hi, I'm Two Penny Gamescast. Spiels. Think about who does spiels more than anybody else. Like a person in society who people don't like. Politicians.
Politicians?
Yes.
Yeah.
They do spiels all the time.
Uh-huh.
That should be associated with evil, shouldn't it? Because it's
a spiel?
It's a way to normalize evil. Like, for example...
Well, I mean, like a game show host does a spiel.
Yeah.
You're going to start telling me Steve Harvey is a bad guy?
They do advocate for gambling. So, in a way...
Steve Harvey?
No, not... Well, by extension, yes. But going on a show and having to play a game for money, for rewards, it's kind of gambling. It's the same concept, right?
I mean, like...
Give it up.
There's no upfront cost necessarily.
I'm just gonna compare them.
You're just going on the show.
Yeah, but I'm still just gonna make them be the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's fair. I mean, we've got a problem with gambling right now, certainly in America, but I'm sure it's worldwide.
Polymarket.
All these things like DraftKings.
Polymarket's the most insidious, though. It's like now you see like.
I was just thinking maybe I should watch my mouth in case of any future sponsors, but then I was like, I don't want any of those sites to sponsor us.
I'm fine with that. Yeah.
I'm cool without that.
We can't say people are gambling too much. It's ruining things. And here is a sponsorship for DraftKings. Go and bet on your favorite sports team.
Well, Connor, there is a story that we're going to cover later today that is from a company that I would be okay with would be okay with sponsoring us, but they've kind of stepped in it. So we are not going to hold back, but maybe we should just not be. You like to use words like pathetic, which I don't know if you know how severe that word is. Like, it's a severe word.
Why do you say it?
You throw it around like it's a Tuesday.
I know. Because there's so many things that are in the world, like the story we're going to talk about.
Connor, how was your week?
Busy.
Yeah.
Busy. But it was a weekend centered around love and commitment.
Oh, good.
Yes. Not my own, but someone else's.
Oh,
yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. How dare you commit to, what are the chances of you committing to anything?
Low. Very, very low. Certainly didn't have enough time to play Bloodborne, our game of the month. I wish I played more. I'll fix that today.
I didn't play as much as I would have liked to as well.
That's your fault.
Ideally, I would have been done by now. Would have rolled credits.
Ideally.
Ideally. Of course, Connor, you are speaking to the Bloodborne review, which we are doing in T-minus 2 weeks, ladies and gentlemen, for the Two Penny Game Club Bloodborne review. We're going to review it. We're going to rank it amongst the other entries in the Game Club series and amongst the other From Software games that we have reviewed in the series. And most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, hard truths.
I'm tired of that word.
Episode. We got some hard truths on the way. There are hard truths coming in our review of Bloodborne.
So means nothing.
If you're willing to come along with me and have an elevated conversation about gaming like we always do on these shows, except maybe not so much the piggy bank, but because we talked about the Spider-Man movies for 15 minutes.
Too long, but
it was great. I could have talked about it for another hour. It was fantastic.
I know you could.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Two Penny Gamescast, where each week we dive deep into the nerdy news you need to know in order to elevate the conversation around games. We each come to you with two topics, two pennies, if you will, and we give you our 2 cents on them. You can watch this show live every Monday afternoon at twitch.tv/2pennygames, where you can put in your own 2 cents live as we record, or if you can't catch us live, watch the episode on youtube.com/@2pennygames, or mainstream podcast services every Tuesday at 8 a.m. Central Time. Of course, our goal here is to always elevate the conversation, so if you have your own 2 cents on a topic we cover, don't cover, or just something about gaming culture you wish was better, drop those thoughts down in the comments below, and we will be back next week to reply to your own 2 pennies.
Yeah.
We didn't get a lot of engagement this week,
No.
We got an okay amount of views, not like any crazy amount of comments. And the comments we did get, we kind of already have addressed those concerns already. So, it was a low week for us over at Two Penny Games. But make sure you like and subscribe and get that algorithm circulating our content, because we're going to keep doing this. We're going to keep trying to make it a lifelong passion of ours, and I'm very, very excited for some things coming in the future. I am in the middle of writing the next Penny Drop, so make sure you keep an eye out for that. That's our video essay series hosted by me.
Having insight into it, it's very stupid. Don't watch it.
No, it's not stupid.
I can't.
It's very
good,
I know, Connor.
You said so many different things that it could be. I actually forgot which one it exactly is. But
you're like, I don't remember which one you're doing. Make sure you subscribe to find out for more. Hopefully, if I get on my shit, that'll be done by the end of next month. Hopefully.
You put a time frame on it. That's bad.
I'll try. I'll try.
Actually, that's heard it's good to do that, but it's bad.
Yeah, but there's nothing holding me to it except myself.
Yeah, that's the point of setting a deadline, so you hold it to yourself.
Yeah, we'll see. Last week, I also said that I'm going to wake up every day at 8 a.m. and go to the gym, and I did that 3 times last week.
Make it 11 then.
There's only 7 days in the. Oh, you mean like 11?
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to do that, because the whole idea was that I would have more time in the day.
Technically, you do.
How?
Oh, I'm thinking my schedule. Well,
this fucking guy. Connor, we got to get into the nerdy news that the people need to know. And, of course, we're going to jump into our first topic of the day. This is something that broke as we were recording last week. Connor wanted to make sure that we double-backed and got to it because, for once, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a positive story in the news. This is so exciting.
From one we didn't think would turn positive, but it has so far.
It's
not done yet.
It's not done yet. Everything could go very, very wrong. So, Connor, we're going to jump to you. And this is, of course, a story written by you, so it's on our own TwoPennyGames News Substack, TwoPennyGamesNews.substack.com. Link in the description down below. Go ahead, take it away, my friend.
Original creator of Subnautica 2 regains control. Crafton defies court ruling.
Give me that read one more time.
Original creator of Subnautica 2 regains control. Crafton defies court ruling. 8 months after Unknown Worlds Entertainment's leadership was fired, publisher Crafton lost a legal battle, leading to the reinstatement of Ted Gill as CEO and the extension of a previously rescinded $250 million bonus. Subnautica 2 was set to enter early access sometime in 2025, before Crafton would backtrack the decision, seemingly in an attempt to avoid a promised $250 million bonus contingent on releasing in early access that year. A fight between Crafton and the studio leads led to their subsequent firing, with Crafton arguing leadership had, quote, abandoned their responsibilities, end quote, a claim swept aside by the presiding judge. Quote, frustrated by the key employee's refusal to forfeit operation control and facing a 9-figure liability, Crafton went searching for a pretext, writes Vice Chancellor Lori Will of Delaware's Court of Chancery. Crafton's true focus in June 2025 was avoiding its financial exposure. It knew Subnautica 2 was poised to achieve a $250 million earnout, which Kim, the CEO of Crafton, viewed as a catastrophic failure. Crafton undertook Project X to either force a deal on the earnout or execute a takeover of the studio. Terminating the founders was one tactic explored and ultimately chosen by Crafton to accomplish its goal, end quote. Per IGN, Crafton commented on the decision through a spokesperson saying, quote, Crafton puts players at the heart of every decision, and that will never change. Over the past several months, Crafton and the Unknown Worlds team have worked tirelessly to strengthen the game and prepare it for an early access release, with a continued focus on delivering the best possible experience for the Subnautica community. We look forward to pushing out the newly updated version as soon as possible for players. Quote, continuing the quote, while we respectfully disagree with today's ruling, we are evaluating our options as we determine our path forward. Today's ruling does not resolve the former executive's claim for damage or an earnout related to Subnautica 2, with further litigation still pending. In the meantime, Crafton's immediate focus remains unchanged, delivering the best possible game to Subnautica's fans, end quote. Although litigation is ongoing, the court ruling not only extends the deadline for the $1 million payout and reinstates Gill as CEO, but gives him full control of when the game launches in early access. Despite this, Crafton ignored the judge's ruling when the publisher decided to release the game for early access without Gill's approval. Quote, we want to take a moment to sincerely thank every member of the Unknown Worlds team and our partners, wrote replacement studio head Steve Papatostis in a message to staff. Over the past 9 months, you have worked incredibly hard to bring Subnautica 2 close to the finish line. That effort has resulted in a game we are truly proud of, one that each of us and our partners at Krafton unanimously determined is ready for early access release in May. Thanks to your dedication and talent, we've added some story chapters, built new creatures, and created new biomes, along with many other features. With this significant progress, we have passed Krafton's milestone review last week and are now ready to start our open development journey alongside our community. We have full confidence that we have reached a point where we can deliver an experience our players will love. We look forward to working with Ted Gill to support a smooth transition and work toward a successful launch. Our priority is getting the game into the hands of the community that has been eagerly waiting for it. And that means honoring the work you have already done to make that possible. GameFile reports that lawyers representing the 3 studio leads filed a motion to express their disappointment over the early access release announcement. While the court hasn't responded, the laid-off developers' lawyers have considered requesting the judge find Krafton in contempt of court, according to GameFile. Redundant right there, but Point is, as it stands right now, they won. But of course, it's still ongoing.
Or winning. Rather,
winning, yes.
And Subnautica 2 back on track.
Yes.
Which is great to hear. They've got a date for early access, which was when? I'm sorry, I missed it.
May of this year.
Very soon. Very soon,
And the biggest worry I had with this story was that, because when I first saw Ted Gill coming back as CEO, I thought the payout of the $250 million, which was the catalyst for all of this, I thought that was, it had gone by and they weren't going to get it. Yeah. But apparently, the judge is actually good.
The judge, did his due diligence, did all the work that needed her due diligence, did all the work and said, no, you needed to put an extension on that to make sure that it still happened, because clearly things went awry in a way that wasn't on the team.
Exactly, yeah. And,
we covered this story a while ago.
It was July. It was July of last year.
Last year, yeah. Because we were in the old apartment still.
We were. And as it stands right now, the other 2 studio heads, they aren't back. I'm assuming further litigation is kind of aimed at getting their positions back, especially since Gill has now returned or will return as the CEO of Unknown Worlds.
It's also that, but do you want to keep working for a company that is clearly just looking to uproot you at any chance they get? Because this is not going to help relations between the team and Krafton. That's still a very tense relationship. If I'm the Subnautica 2 team, I'm looking for a way to gain my independence or be sold to a different publisher.
Yeah, there's a couple of different ways to look at it. First of all, they're safe until Subnautica 2 comes out. Nothing will happen from there.
Yeah.
The reason why I think this is an overall good thing to do and to keep trying to get back in the company is you were forced out for completely unreasonable reasons. And now they're trying to use, I guess the people who first sued were the studio heads who were laid off. But once you win a court case like this one, you kind of set a precedent that, clearly there was some manipulation going on to make it to where they didn't have to pay out that bonus, and they fired people to try and cover it up. And down the line, if they do try to do some action against Unknown Worlds, being the publisher who owns them, they could point back to this and say, hey, we had this issue in the past. They fired us. They tried to deny a bonus that they had promised, but we were able to, through the court system, get that back on track. And now they're trying, because they're still upset by it.
They're clearly trying to fuck us again.
Yeah. I feel like in a court of law, it's kind of like a ball rolling down a hill, a snowball rolling down a hill. It's just going to gain traction more so when we see how this goes further. And if, like I said, those people get reinstated and if some other things are cleared up. Point is, I hope that they keep losing in the courts, because so often when we come on this show, we talk about how the people who make games are always losing. The big publishers, the people who really aren't about games, who just own the companies in question, usually just fire large amounts of people, cancel projects that seemingly shouldn't be canceled. Again, firing people who, even when they're successful, it doesn't matter. And so I think these kinds of court cases, you got to have more of them, and you got to keep pressing, because just giving ground to these companies isn't going to work, because they're going to see this as an opportunity to walk all over people. But
yeah, I agree 100%. And I'm so glad that we got seemingly a positive story to come out in an era where we're just hitting negative after negative after negative story, right? Excuse me. To bring it on what happens next, I think we as consumers, we as players, we as gamers should show support to this. Subnautica built a huge fan base. Subnautica is one of those survival games that really made a name for itself, and maybe isn't the poster child for the genre, but is certainly one of those big heavy hitters that like people talk about and really respect. I think it is on us as consumers, as lovers of the medium, to support that and be like, hey, they got to win. Let's figure out a way to support that. I probably will never play Subnautica 2 in my life. I'm going to go buy Subnautica 2 because I believe so much in, one, because they've supported their community quite well, to my knowledge, right? I'm not on the inside, so someone in that community, please comment down below. Let me know how you have felt about Subnautica over the years and how excited you are for Subnautica 2. But I am as someone who has never played or really supported Unknown Worlds in any way, I'm gonna throw a couple bones their way and support them in this, because I think it's important that one, we do our due diligence and help support these devs that care, and you know, allow them to put power back in their own hands. And I also think if Subnautica 2 is successful in a major way, or at least on paper looks great, I think I think this relationship between Unknown Worlds and Crafton is deteriorating in front of our eyes, right? Like I just mentioned that earlier. Like this cannot be a healthy relationship between the two entities right now.
Especially because the reaction of Crafton was to say how they abandoned their duties and they weren't really trying to get the game out. And
yeah. So
fly, you know,
I don't see any other future outside of Unknown Worlds getting shut down, which would be tragic. But ideally, there would be a future in which we either sell it to another publisher that will hopefully treat them better. Hopefully, we know how acquisitions work in these days. Or they are able to gain independence through the success of Subnautica 2, which in some way. So I'm going to show support, even though I have no intention to play.
I feel like they should be able to, because remember, it was the number 1 most wishlisted game on Steam alone.
Yeah, behind Silksong, right?
Yeah, at the time. I wonder if it's number 1 now. But it has, of course, a lot of community support behind it, and that kind of seems to be a rife environment for going on your own. Because I think that's kind of the future that a lot of these game developers should heavily consider, because publishers, it's too radical. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You don't know if you're going to have complete control over your products, the projects that you're undertaking. I mean, remember with PlayStation, how many live service games did they have their people make?
Yep.
And it didn't work out, and then they fired a bunch of studios and a bunch of people because...
Rest in peace, Bluepoint.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'm done thinking that acquisitions are anything but bad for the games industry. And it seems like this game can not only survive when it first releases, but also constantly drip out content to still make money and not fall into the pit that game development has nowadays, where it takes so long to make something that you're just not earning money in that time period, or as much as you should be making.
To your point about acquisitions, there are a lot of like smaller dev studios, or major ones even, where like keeping the lights on was a strain on people who were put in positions of leadership or having to play the role of executive. And they're creatives first, and sometimes the skill set doesn't translate between those two things all the time. Sometimes it doesn't; it works out great, and sometimes it's just like, hey, I would rather not worry about the bills this month. I would rather just worry about creating and getting this game out, right? So there are cases where like acquisition does work. It's just unfortunately we are in a period of time post-pandemic and in the middle of the AI craze in which a lot of money is being spent. Fruitlessly, feverishly. Like a lot of money is being spent, and not as much money as expected is coming back in. So that's really the problem that we have there. But there are cases where I'm like, being acquired is good for them, and then there are cases where it's like, oh, that didn't work out like at all how we wanted to. Bluepoint being the prime example right now of, wow, that really did not work out how we wanted it to. But I think. I don't want to keep pulling from PlayStation Studios, but those are the ones that keep coming to my head. But I think like teams like Housemarque, teams like even Insomniac back in the day. Insomniac was independent for a long, long time. I think the people, the heads of Insomniac went, I'm tired of this, man. I just want to make games, or I want to find my path for retirement, because some of these studios have been around for a long time. I think Bethesda was a similar thing, and all of the studios under Bethesda. Double Fine was a great example of that, of like, man, we just don't want to worry about keeping the lights on. Our studio head is a creative first.
Yeah.
So like it's a pro and con. We are just in an era where it's like, oh, there is a lot of con. There is so much con.
It just seems...
And so I would rather, and then of course you saw what happened to Hi-Fi Studio,
Tango
Gameworks. Of course, you saw that and went, what the fuck are we doing? Of course, you saw what happened to Bluepoint. You go, what the fuck are we doing? Like, how did this happen? Why did this happen? Now, some of these cases have, zeroed out in a way that, like, works best for us, but there's also a million cases, an overwhelming number of cases where you're like, wow, that really should not have happened to those studios. We're about to talk about Ubisoft. there's plenty of examples under the Ubisoft branch. What Activision was doing with studios like Toys for Bob and
EA as well, that
EA
has all these people underneath them.
Yeah, what they're doing with Motive Studios and so forth, where it's just like, come on, man, this is clearly not the right path for these people. Why are you doing it this way? But these things happen.
You mentioned the smaller studios. The problem is that a couple of years, not even a couple of years, a year ago, less than that, I would never even consider Blue Point would just get completely canned. And
yeah.
The smaller studios are the ones that kind of go by the wayside the most. I mean, how many times do we just not even cover a story of a studio closing because it's some small, very, maybe indie-based or
it happens.
support studio?
It happens all the time, and I think these are the woes of the industry right now. It's also part of the thing of like we do a weekly show as opposed to a day-by-day show. If we did a daily show or like 5 shows a day or whatever, we would cover those smaller studios, the mobile, the iPhone game dev studios, or just the smaller indie studios who get acquired by Embracer or Krafton or any of these. And we would cover those more in detail if we had the time to, right? But we just don't have the time to, and that's unfortunate. So we do our best to cover those. But, of course, ladies and gentlemen, let us know down in the comments below your opinions on that little brief topic of conversation. And again, let us know what you think about Subnautica 2 getting their leadership mostly or on the path to reinstatement and getting a release date for early access. Are you going to play Subnautica 2 early access? Are you going to wait for full release? Are you excited for Subnautica 2? Did this story put it on your radar as something that, hey, I want to support? Let us know down in the comments below and help us find our way to elevate gaming. Now, speaking of elevating gaming in the gaming space.
Definitely did that.
Woo, baby boy. We
graphics.
The NVIDIA kind of stepped on a rake this last week, and this is something that I think happened. Did it happen the day after we recorded?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, so this happened last Tuesday. I was editing TikToks for the week, and I saw it starting to blow up the timeline there, and it was quite unfortunate. I don't know how we want to handle this or how much of this we want to read. Probably a good amount of it.
Yeah,
I think so. So let's just go ahead and do that. Moving into topic number 2, my first penny of the day. NVIDIA CEO says gamers are completely wrong about DLSS 5. This is from Insider Gaming by Tom Henderson. Shout out to Tom Henderson. In a press Q&A with NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang?
Yeah.
The CEO has said that those who have criticized DLSS 5 and the tech are completely wrong. As first reported by Tom's Hardware, NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang downplayed criticism of DLSS 5 during this year's GTC event, saying, quote, well, first of all, they're completely wrong. The reason for that is because, as I have explained very carefully, DLSS 5 fuses the controllability of geometry and textures and everything about the game with generative AI, Huang continued. He said that developers can still, quote, fine-tune the generative AI and that, quote, it's not post-processing at the frame level. It's generative control at the geometry level, he said. That's not better. Huang also said that developers can try the tool and see how they want to use it, suggesting that it's up to a developer to try to make a, quote, tune shader or see if the game should be, quote, made of glass.
Who's asking for these things in video games?
We're going to get into more of it. Quote, all of that is in direct control of the game developer. He said, this is very different than generative AI. It's content control generative AI. What? That's why we call it natural rendering.
Neutral rendering.
Neural rendering.
This guy's just throwing words out. He's just
a lot of word salad. I was hoping that it would get into it in the first paragraph. So if you don't know, NVIDIA released a trailer, this official announcement trailer of NVIDIA DLSS 5, which is their new update to their DLSS program, and it uses generative AI to update the lighting and the textures and the face models and just pretty much everything that you see on screen. Now, it's important to note that this is not DLSS. DLSS is pretty much, honestly, a good thing. This really helps with path tracing and ray tracing and lighting and all these things. I've had to read way more about this shit than I want to the last week to try and kind of understand it because I'm not a tech guy, right? But the trailer clearly shows off the use of generative AI in this processing, the processing happening in post of this, where they showed off a bunch of things like Resident Evil Requiem, Starfield, Hogwarts Legacy, and it basically just kind of, at least to the human eye and what the eye is looking at, it just kind of turns your game into an AI filter, or it slaps an AI filter on your game, and it just doesn't look good, like, to the human natural eyes. Now, technically, objectively, quote unquote, it might look good, but we're not working in an objective space. We're just plain not. And AI is really, really bad at diversifying its look, because it just gathers everything it can from the internet and from networking and so forth to, like, generate images that sort of accumulate to all of these things, but it's really, really bad at differentiating those looks. So, like, human faces all kind of look the same, and they all move the same, and there's, like, the way that shadows get casted on your cheeks and your eyes and all of that all look the same. Everything looks like it has a ring light right in front of the subject for some reason. Like, it's always front lit and not, like, lit how it naturally is. I'm going to show footage of it later on, and we're going to kind of go through it in a little bit, but it's important to note that this is specifically DLSS 5 and not DLSS as a brand. And NVIDIA has historically been a frontrunner in technology in these realms. So, like, this just feels like we'll get into it. Bethesda also weighed in on criticism surrounding DLSS 5, replying to a post from Digital Foundry on X saying, quote, "Appreciate your excitement and analysis of the new DLSS 5 lighting here. This looks very this is a very early look, and our art teams will be further adjusting the lighting and final effect to look the way we think works best for each game. This will all be under our artist's control and totally optional for players." Developers were left in the dark about DLSS 5. Speaking with developers and artists at studios that have agreed to DLSS 5, including Capcom and Ubisoft, Insider Gaming was told that the DLSS 5 tech was revealed to them at the same time as everyone else. Quote, "We found out at the same time as the public," said one Ubisoft developer. Developers at Capcom tell Insider Gaming that the announcement and the publisher's involvement were particularly shocking, as Capcom has previously been historically very anti-AI with projects such as Resident Evil Requiem and other unannounced projects in development. Some at the publisher feel that the DLSS 5 announcement could prompt a change in the publisher's view on generative AI and its implementation in its games. So now I'm gonna let the video play and we're gonna talk about it. But Connor, first let's start with this official announcement trailer. This thing looks like shit.
It clearly looks AI, like, enhanced.
It's just got that, it's just got that look to it of just AI slop that we've seen 100 times on the internet. Now, let's be honest, not every shot looks terrible, but most of them don't look good.
Yeah, like Leon's is fine.
Leon's here looks okay. I think there's some moments in the Starfield showing that looks okay, but this right here with the Hogwarts Legacy, holy shit, that old woman doesn't even look real anymore. And then, of course, people have been tearing apart. They open it with the what's her name? Grace Ashcroft from Resident Evil Requiem in one of the early shots of the game, and she looks like an ad that you would see on Instagram,
like a model,
or an AI model ad. Like, it looks awful, and like the lighting all changes. It's really like the more detailed you get in the look of it. I'm kind of pointing around with my mouse on the thing of, like, there's clearly a front light that wasn't there. Her facial structure has changed. They're saying it's not manipulating geometry. You know what it looks like? It looks like a high-res version of when they used to, like, take pictures of people's faces and put them on polygon models, like in the old Max Payne games, or like sort of like what they were experimenting with, like Rainbow Six Vegas 2, where you could, like, take a picture with the webcam and it would put your face on that, like, horrific polygon model, and it would always look terrible. That's kind of what this looks like, but, like, ultra high res. You know,
the weird, like, pet peeve I have about this is in the corner, the top right corner. That sign for that store, it changes from, like, something that looks like, oh yeah, that's something it's a sign somebody made, to being like AI generated looking text. I don't know what it is, just the way it's so slight, it's insignificant.
Yeah, I'm not seeing what you're saying here on that. What gets me is on that right side of the screen there is the shop. Look at the lighting, and how the lighting is casting from the window, and how it's, like, hitting the little, I think that's an ice machine there, the, like, white and blue machine or whatever that is right there. How that lighting is hitting in the dev's hands, and then when you put the DLSS 5 lighting on there, it's completely different. The light is not emanating from the window. There's no light casting on that little ice machine that I'm talking about. If that is an ice machine, it's hard to tell.
It is an ice machine.
Yeah, like, and all that. If you look at the lamppost on the left side of the screen, like, lighting and detail completely changes. Like, it just doesn't look natural. It doesn't look like it's raining anymore. It's raining in that scene. It just doesn't. It doesn't look right. Grace as a model looks completely different. Grace's hair is, like, blonde, like platinum blonde, like, almost. And it with the filter on, you can clearly see darker roots in her hair, which make it look like she dyes her hair, which she does not. And it just like it changes her nose and her cheeks, mostly through lighting, but like there is like some structural differences that are here. It just looks like they put the there's always that meme on the internet where some fucking idiot like beautifies a character, most infamously the meme with Aloy from the Horizon Zero Dawn games of like, oh, you should hire fans because we made Aloy look pretty and she's fuckable now, quote unquote. It looks like that. Like it looks like they've done that to Grace here and to several other characters throughout this like little trailer. And it's so like baffling that they chose to do this because you could just look at this trailer and be like, yo, this doesn't even look good. Like their marketing and how they announced this was a terrible way to go about this. Like even if the technology is overall a good thing at the end and we just can't see it through, if we just can't see the forest through the leaves right now, like just the way that you went about presenting this is terrible. Like you just stepped on a rake that you didn't need to. And the developers being like, yo, we didn't know about this.
That's
like,
a bad sign.
That's a
very,
really
very
bad sign. If I'm to rationalize how this all happened, Connor, and if I'm to break it down and go, okay, what is going on here? I would assume on the business side of things, stockholders, CEOs, all of this, I would assume that there's a conversation happening in these back rooms that goes, okay, but what are you doing with AI? Because AI is the new hotness. AI is going to take us to, quote unquote, going to take us to that next level, right? Now, we don't agree that that's the truth, but I believe that's what's happening. And,
or rather, the path to more money.
Yeah.
That's what they say.
And if you're these tech companies or if you're these dev studios, if you don't have an answer for them, or if you're not saying, hey, we're figuring out how to use it as a tool set of some kind, and this is how, if you're not giving them an answer that they like on that, then they're going to cut funding from you. They're not going to support your projects and probably close down studios and cancel projects later on down the line because they believe that AI is the future. Again, I'm saying that's wrong. You shouldn't want that, and we as the public should fight back. I'm so glad that the public has been fighting back against this. You know, the like to dislike ratio is hidden on YouTube, but I'm sure it's a mess because there was also an image going around on the Reddit thread of NVIDIA where it was like, here's the trailer, and then every comment underneath was deleted by a moderator because it was like, clearly this is just not going well. I'm so happy to see the public react how they've reacted to this because this has been what I've been wanting them to do all along. So I hope that this is kind of a breaking point in the industry of like, oh, okay, like people don't want this, like, and it's a big problem. As we continue through this trailer and so forth, man, dude, that old woman doesn't even look right anymore. Like those wrinkles don't look real. Again, the whole lighting system has changed to like put a front ring light on her that wasn't there before. Like details are like getting matted down and just AI gentrified in some ways. Like it just looks terrible. And there was that conversation of like, the artist, this is, because this is a technology-based medium, so we have to interact with technology and its advancements naturally through this, right? There was the statement somewhere in there of like, well, now developers can do what they've always wanted to do. And I'm like, I believe that for this old lady in Hogwarts Legacy, they did what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
Like, I don't believe that the technology is that limiting. It's not the 90s anymore, man. Like, I just don't believe that this is not what they intended to do. It looks like you're just like, quote unquote, fixing it for them and you're going over their heads as what the artists actually intended.
Well, game devs as a general thing have been anti-AI throughout all of this. It's always, of course, the people at the heads of those companies that are implementing it. And you can definitely see that with how...
Jesus, that looks just objectively terrible.
Wait. Go back. I didn't see that one.
Yeah. All right,
he looked like...
There's another shot from Hogwarts Legacy. I think you're like getting off a ride or something. There's like a gnome character in the back. And
Goblin.
And like, look at the... Jesus Christ. Like, look at the shadows of this man's face pre and post.
I know. It's completely unnecessary.
Like, it's just so different. The face changes entirely. Like, it's all just this, like...
He's got sweat, I guess, maybe.
Yeah, like, just the way that the light is cascading on him. Look at how his hair looks. His hair looks less detailed now. Like, it just looks like swathed up for no reason. That's not what the character is. You know? It's just like you've completely misinterpreted what was supposed to be going on here. Now, Hogwarts Legacy, not the prettiest game in the market, right? And so you might be fooled because there is more detail on the face, but that's not what's happening here. Like, they are going in and changing what the image is. Now, they can do all of the post talk all they want about like, oh, it's not actually changing geometry. It's just like applying like a post processing newer or whatever. You can't fool my human eyes. Or you get, like, even if that's true, even if your statements are true of like, this is not what the technology is doing, it's what it looks like it's doing. And when you the way the human brain works, like if I see a recognizable pattern and it's so clearly on human faces, which is what human brains are designed to identify first, is facial features and facial structure. Like doing this to that just triggers something in my brain that goes, this is wrong. And it doesn't look good. Like it just doesn't look good to the human eye. I have not seen, and of course, you know, there's people on both sides of every conversation, right? And so I have seen some people be like, hey, man, I think this looks great. I think this is the future, this, that, and the third. But I've never seen that from an artist. I've never seen that from a creative. It's always someone who handles something more on the business side. So even if they do work at Bethesda, they're not like character model people. They're like business people or like on the dev team. You know, they're on the team themselves. But it's just like you're not the one who made the face, you know? And so it's really unfortunate that we are at this point. Jesus, fucking motion. It's so much worse.
Don't forget Starfield. It's the new big game of this generation. I hate that. I just can't
oh, my God. And so many of these shots. This is the one shot that I was like, okay, this kind of looks better. But again, that front lighting is still there. And that's not what the lighting of the scene was.
I was talking with our mutual friend Spencer, and he was like, it's not really saying much when you're using Starfield as your main example. It's like, well, wow, now, Starfield again, looks better?
Yeah,
wow.
Some of these games are not the prettiest games in the world, but like what you're doing to it is just like, it just looks wrong. Jesus, it looks like you fucking deep faked a face onto this FIFA player here. Like that looks like a deep fake.
It looked good in the still frame because, I mean, it's FIFA. They're trying to go
FIFA,
for that.
I couldn't tell you how good or bad FIFA looks, but in motion, it doesn't. Like, it looks like the face is trying to catch up to the body.
Yeah, it's strange looking. And this insistent by, what was his name again? Huang, first name?
Jenna?
Yeah, I think so. When he's going on his talk about why people are wrong, it's just, as someone who's not very technical, I go, what are you talking about? I don't know what he's saying here.
Well, it's also what you're saying is just like, it's just not believable.
It's not at all. And because we know that there's a lot of people think there's tons of money in AI. For example, NVIDIA, their RAM that they've produced is now being majorly dedicated to AI data centers. They're screwing over people on the consumer side for offering a consumer product that consumers don't like. It's only self-serving. That gives a good look into the mindset of these kinds of people, because there are, of course, a lot of people, I guarantee you, who are just saying, yes, AI is the future. Yes, men, effectively. But also just when you're solely focused on the money all the time, it's going to come back in some negative way. And when you're so focused on creating art as a business, when you start making decisions like this, it becomes readily apparent to anybody, even if they're not already anti-AI, that this is not good for gaming.
Right.
People aren't looking at these things. The things that this system is this technology is doing, no one's asking for. No one's saying, "Oh man, I hope things look more like realistic."
Exactly.
It's not even really looking realistic.
And
it looks like AI.
If you look, all of these are from games that like are trying to present themselves in some form of realism or some sort of like real life. You could believe it in the real world type thing. What happens if a game has more style to it? Then what does it do?
Well, I think that's what they were talking about, how it's up to the developers to do more on that side of things. Like he talked about the toon slider. Again, it's like, or they could just not do that.
So art is just a slider now? Like,
yeah, exactly. They can make the game the way they want to make it. They don't need your technology to do it. You're only saying that because you're trying to sell this, because it's a product.
Yep.
And it's a product that is going to ultimately screw over their own jobs, because that's what AI is in the gaming space. It's a replacement for the human workload. They'll say it's not. They'll say it's for smoothing up or making game development go by quicker, and reducing redundancies of stupid bullshit that a lot of game developers have to deal with. But it's none of those reasons. It's for making money. It's for investing in technology that has return on it.
Yep, 100%. This is just so that you can limit the number of jobs.
Yeah.
This is just so that you can cut another 100 people from major AAA studios who would have done the human work and kept the soul in the game. And again, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Without the soul of the human putting the work in, then life is just not worth experiencing without that soul in it. Like, you need that to feel alive. And the way that this generative AI conversation is going, it is ripping the soul out of it. And I'll also remind everybody that generative AI is inherently theft, because it is taking all of its influence from already existing images and plastering it and duct taping it together into the image that you're seeing in front of you. So that's why Grace's nose started looking like an Instagram model nose, because it is just lifting all of these images from what a pretty female human is and putting it on her. And that wasn't her facial structure to begin with, you know? That's why, like, the old lady is looking so dramatically different. The man in the cart is looking so dramatically different. And like, it's really, like, I think just, like, to me, this is the clearest example we've had of, like, when you put this in video games, you just immediately lose the humanity in it. No matter how detailed the human face now suddenly quote unquote becomes, which I don't agree that it is, it just looks different. But now that, like, suddenly we've got all of this detail quote unquote in the face, it just looks wrong. It looks manufactured. It doesn't have, there's not, like, it's in the eyes, it's in the cheek muscles, it's in the way that the mouths move, like all of those, like, highly all those highly expressive parts of the human face, like, just look fabricated. They don't look real. Like, like, look at the way that characters are smiling or cheering. When we get to the EAFC clip and the dude celebrates by taking his little slide, look at his face. Look at his mouth. Like, he just isn't. He's clearly not, like.
Well, that's without DLSS.
Oh, you're right. Here we go.
The problem, the issue is that all of these things get stopped. They're no longer in frame. If you notice, they're no longer in motion, because that's when it really is going to start looking a little
right. Things, but, like, you see it in 100 different ways of, like, and there's more footage that they've released for this that also looks terrible. There was a lot of footage with the Oblivion remaster where it was like, holy shit, these faces look just objectively worse. Like, the environments just look objectively worse because AI doesn't know how to cast shadows properly. Like, and this is technology that we've had for decades at this point. So it's just really, really concerning and really disheartening that we're seeing this happen. But I think clearly this is something that they're going to have to roll back on, rebrand in some ways. Now, listen, AI in technology is going to exist. I appreciate it more in the ways of, like, how we've seen AI integrate in programs like Photoshop, or how to make, like, textures fit to the geometry that you've created in the way that makes it look natural. Like, that's a lot of tedious work that artists have to use. Or, you know, in Photoshop, if you use, like, the lasso tool, and, like, how annoying it is to have to cut out people and images and so forth. I still do it this way. I don't use the AI tools, but there are AI tools that, like, scan the image and go, okay, this is probably what you're looking for, and just cut out that person quicker, or they identify it for you, and then you can go in and fine-tooth with a fine-tooth comb and detail exactly what you're trying to cut out, but it does the majority of the work for you. I can understand how, like, that is just to cut down time on some of the more tedium work that isn't, like, super artsy-fartsy about it, but I'm also of the opinion that the hard work is what makes the art valuable. So, like, I saw a TikTok today where it was like, I don't know, some TikTok creator who's just a loser and just saying things, right?
Yeah.
Of, like, hey, AI art allows people with disabilities or people without inherent talent to create art. And you're right, it does allow people without talent to create art. But nobody is just instantly great at art the first time they do it. Nobody. Now, they may start off a little better than you, but you can get up to their level. It's called skill. It's talent versus skill. Talent is what you're born with. Skill is what you develop. And with hard work and with passion and with time and training and always willing to learn something new and try your best, you can develop a skill to where it surpasses somebody with talent. You know, it's not easy. It takes time and hard work. And so it's so funny. I saw that TikTok where it's like, oh, I allow someone without talent to do that. And then somebody stitched that with a video of they started drawing in, like, 2014, 2015, somewhere around there. And then every year they had all of their works up until the current time. And it's terrible. It looks like something I would paint or draw, where it's like square faces and, you know, no detail, and the coloring's all wrong, and there's no shadows and so forth. But by the time it got 3-4 years into it, you see it start getting better and better and better. It is more valuable in that mid-range where it doesn't look great, but it clearly looks better. That's more valuable than anything AI can give you, because it's like, oh, clearly we're showing the progression, and that human soul is so apparent in there. You can tell when somebody tries. Like, you can tell. You can look at it and be like, somebody is trying.
For the most part, yeah. The most insidious thing about this is, it's as it stands right now, it's very easy for pretty much anybody to look at this and say, it looks worse. But this is constantly evolving technology, so my worry is that
when it stops looking worse.
And then people are going to still have that integrity of, well, no, this is AI, I don't like it. Or are they going to say, well, it looks better, or it looks the same as if you did it naturally, with your regular talents and skills.
I don't know if it's ever really truly possible for AI to get better than that. or to get to that level of greatness, because again, it's like just accumulating a bunch of different images. So it's using reference images that don't belong. Now, is it going to be able to identify reference images better in what works or doesn't work? Maybe it will be a scan where Grace does look fantastic, but like again, like as we like broke down with that image, there's just everything wrong with the image in comparison to the original image, or everything about the image with the technology on just looks wrong. Like the lighting's wrong, the geometry's wrong, the details wrong, the human face is wrong, and human faces are really the thing that's going to kill this movement, is because that's what humans care about the most naturally.
Yeah,
because just the way our brains are wired, we look for faces. There's a reason when
the uncanny valley effect.
It's an uncanny valley thing, but like also like the human eye, just like the human brain is trained to identify facial features and structures, right? This is why like you think a dog is expressive in certain ways, is because you've identified its face, and the dog is not really expressing the way that we express, but we put our human emotions onto that. There's a reason why in animation, if an object gains sentience, they put a face on it. Is because they want to be able to show expression and have you identify it as a being with thoughts and feelings and emotions, so that you can relate to it.
On the flip side of that, I hate those fucking photos or videos where it's like a dog that looks like it's smiling, and they're like, see, he's happy, he's smiling. It's like, well, he could be happy.
He could be.
But you don't know. You just happens to form a face in that moment that looks like a smile.
Dogs are a funny thing, because dogs are picking up on patterns that we give them.
That's true.
So they're going, oh, if I do this, you react positively. So this elicits a positive reaction, which allows me to benefit in some way, right? Whether it's the dopamine of seeing my human happy, because the dog is also recognizing that we're happy, or it's like a chance of like a treat or pet or attention or affection in some ways, right? So like that, really dogs are manipulating us into thinking that they're happy when they maybe not, or maybe it's just a natural thing that they're doing because they've trained themselves to do that. When
we've trained them to do that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's a back and forth relationship thing. So like it's just a little bit complicated in those ways, and I just don't know if AI will ever be able to, on that same level. I don't know if generative AI will be able to surpass the same thinking as a dog. Where the AI looks at a thing and goes, okay, this means that, because it's working off of logic, and humans are an illogical thing. Dogs do the same thing. They go, okay, well, this means that. So, like, I don't know if the AI will ever be able to surpass that. Let's go ahead and assume it will.
That's what I do.
Because it's just better to assume it will, and we stop it, or we put guardrails on it as quickly and as effectively as possible, as opposed to letting it get out of hand.
It wasn't that long ago when everyone was mocking those AI videos of like Will Smith eating spaghetti, and it's like, that's so stupid looking and dumb.
And now it looks pretty good. Yeah, now it looks pretty good. It's a little hard to tell, but there's a huge difference between those two. Connor, we got to move on to our next topic of the day. This is going to be our third topic of the day. This is going to be your second penny of the day, and this is something that I'm actually interested to hear, because I didn't catch this story. This story eluded my radar this week, so go ahead and take it away, my friend.
Ubisoft Studio cuts over 100 employees, while Crystal Dynamics hit with more layoffs. North Carolina-based studio Red Storm Entertainment, known for its past work on Tom Clancy games like Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six, has 105 developers laid off amidst ongoing Ubisoft restructuring. Video Game Chronicles VGC reports developers were made aware of the layoffs last Thursday, and while the studio will continue to exist, all games in development were terminated. Founded in 1996 by Tom Clancy himself, Red Storm has since worked on VR games like Assassin's Creed Nexus VR and Star Trek Bridge Crew, but now will be relegated to a support role for IT and Ubisoft's proprietary game engine Snowdrop. Near the beginning of 2026, Ubisoft shuttered its studio responsible for Assassin's Creed Rebellion a month after the formation of a union. Shortly afterwards, Ubisoft unveiled its future plans that restructures itself around 5 creative houses. This resulted in 2 studios closures, 6 game cancellations, and 7 title delays, with an intent to, quote, reclaim its creative leadership, regain ability, and drive a sharp rebound, end quote. Unfortunately, Ubisoft wasn't alone in making layoffs this week, with the current developer of Tomb Raider, Crystal Dynamics, making its 4th round of layoffs of job cuts in the past year, this time resulting in 20 employees losing their positions. Quote, today, Crystal Dynamics is reducing its workforce by 20 talented team members, split between some development personnel and some central operations roles, reads a LinkedIn post from the company. This is a difficult day for our studio, and we never make these decisions lightly. No. Particularly after the restructuring we underwent last year. As our current projects move on into new phases of development, we continuously take a hard look and our structures to ensure they align with our long-term studio goals. While we always strive to transition our people into new roles whenever possible, we have unfortunately reached a point where these departures are necessary. We are incredibly grateful for the passion and hard work these individuals supported our game studio. We are providing them with severance jobs.
Same thing as always.
At least job placement and assistance is coming. Plan their next opportunity, blah, blah, blah. We know that news like this can cause concerns amongst our community. Crystal Dynamics remains fully committed to the future development of our already announced Tomb Raider titles. Today, however, our priority is supporting our colleagues who are moving on, end quote. Excuse me, I needed to barf. Major gaming publisher Embracer Group acquired Crystal Dynamics in 2022 from Square Enix, who have since solely released remasters of Tomb Raider 1 through 6 and the Legacy of Kain trilogy, with 2 new Tomb Raider entries on the horizon. Past layoffs include 17 job cuts in March of 2025, with an unknown amount of developers laid off in August and November of the same year. Going back to Red Storm Entertainment, they have around, I forgot to include it, 100 and I want to say 120 people that were employed there. So, working on Skeleton Crew now. But as we were kind of talking about at the beginning with Subnautica 2, these big publishers are just laying off people left and right. Continuation of that exact same thing.
To reinforce these ideas that, we're looking to just cut. And in a time where it's taking more and more to get through... Oh, that's interesting. In a time where it's just taking more to get these games out, cutting the workforce just doesn't seem like a good idea. I'm worried about Crystal Dynamics. I'm worried about this next Tomb Raider game. I believe, because we have that remake coming out allegedly this year. We'll see if that actually hits this year.
Then another one in 2027.
And then, is that game slated for 27?
That's what I saw. Yeah. I'll double check.
Really? I thought we didn't even get a year on that, but we'll see. I am concerned. I believe that remake will likely come out. I am concerned about whether or not that new game will ever actually see release.
It's strange to have games locked and loaded, getting ready to go, I should say, but fire people even still. It reeks of they're just trying to really cut costs anywhere they can.
Right. And the statement of we're clearly devoted, we're doing our best to make sure Tomb Raider makes it on its way out. It's just concerning. It's just but you're saying one thing and doing another thing. So listen, I like Crystal Dynamics as a dev team. I have for years. I think they've gotten I think they've been victims of a bad string of deals that weren't always necessarily their fault.
Yeah.
And so to see them like this where they are right now, I'm just like, man, this really, really sucks. If you do your work all the way back a decade ago with the release of Rise of the Tomb Raider being Xbox exclusive and then being sandwiched between massive titles, or on the same day as Fallout 4, that's what it was.
Yes,
and that one clearly just not being set up for success at all. And then leading that into, all right, we're going to take you off of Tomb Raider. We're going to put you on a Marvel game. Okay, well, that feels like success. That feels like a good thing. And we're going to make it a live service title.
Yeah.
And,
okay.
We're going to try and follow this thing. And we're going to, slap the Marvel Avengers title on it. And hopefully the brand will be bigger than the quality of the game. And then also there's clear creative conflict on the creative side of what that game is going to be. If you played Marvel's Avengers, you can very easily tell that they were trying to make a classic action adventure game, and then they had to pivot at some point in development and make it a live service title. Yeah. Which I still say Marvel's Avengers is not the worst game in the world. It was okay.
Still a victim of, as you said, bad management.
Yeah. It had undoubtable problems, but I enjoyed it for what it was, and I would have liked to have seen it succeed. Obviously, it didn't. I want to cut to,
by the way, real quick. It's Tomb Raider Legacy of Atlantis, which is the remake.
Yeah.
2026. And 2027 is the slated release for Tomb Raider Catalyst. So
we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see. Listen, I really enjoyed Crystal Dynamics Tomb Raider games. I'm excited for them to take that brand into I say a new direction, but clearly a more traditional direction, or maybe a combination of the two. Mm-hmm. I'm very excited to see that. But yeah, we're just gonna have to wait and see on if that's actually ever going to happen, because things are rocking the ship. I want to shout out Danny Maduro in the chat, in the Twitch chat. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, you can catch us live every Tuesday afternoon recording all of our podcasts. Danny, you've been here for the last couple of weeks. I appreciate your support, my man. Thank you so much for jumping back in. Did you guys hear about the rumored GTA 6 being delayed because they're trying to port it for the Switch 2? No, I've not heard that rumor. No, that's not what's going to happen.
They're not going to do that.
No,
I get
not for Switch 2.
I get Nintendo is trying to go more into the online space, and
Yeah.
of course GTA is only as big or as consistently high ranked on the sales as it is because of the existence of its online mode. But they're not going to do that. They can't. Do that.
They're not going to do
get
that.
GTA 5 on there first before you talk about this. But
That's a good point.
I don't think they wouldn't even be able to do that.
Or Red Dead 2.
Yeah,
Probably,
Red Dead 2 is a
I
better
could see Red Dead 2
example, yeah.
happening. Red Dead Redemption 1, it wasn't a remaster, it was just a port, but that made its way to Switch consoles, right?
I don't believe
Yeah,
so.
Google that. I think it made it to Switch 1. Red Dead Redemption 1. Remember when they just like ported it? They didn't like remaster it or anything. Remember that?
I could believe them doing that. It's not exactly
I'm not trolling.
New
I didn't
game.
say you were trolling. Did I say he was trolling? Did you say he was trolling?
Oh,
I don't think we said that.
Nintendo Switch. Yeah, Switch.
Came from Nate the Hate. Well, Nate the Hate is a common thing. I
relevant.
just don't believe that they would do that for Switch 2 because I don't believe that's where their big chunk of money is coming from.
Yeah, I literally cannot just conceive of them doing that at all.
That would seem silly to me. I think their focus is PlayStation 5 and Xbox consoles, and then we of course know that the PC version is coming later. That's where all their money is going to be, or the majority of their money. Because Rockstar has never needed Nintendo as a platform,
and Nintendo hasn't needed them.
I don't believe it either. But that would be insane. It would be insane.
Elden Ring had a lot of problems getting ported to Switch 2.
Still not there.
Yeah, if that's having problems, has no chance.
Well, Rockstar's better at what is the word? I can't think of the word right now.
Formatting?
Formatting, I guess, is work, right? Like they're like Rockstar is better than From Software at getting their games to run on hardware.
I see.
Because even with the power of the PlayStation 4, like Bloodborne came out a mess, like at release. Like it's historically just been a problem that From Software has had that their games just don't. They're just not the best at like programming for platforms. They're just not the best.
I wouldn't really. Not the best.
There's been different. You can cherry pick examples because Elden Ring came out pretty good. Armored Core 6, Sekiro, those things came out pretty good. But there's been
Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3. The issue with those with the game on the game side. Well, not 3. 3 didn't have any issues. Bloodborne did, but it wasn't like a mess. It was just like some things they needed to fine tune.
They had like minute-long loading screens in a game with lots of loading screens.
Yeah, but they got
like there's a lot of loading screens in Bloodborne.
Yeah, but they fixed that pretty quick, like in the first week.
I don't think it was the first week.
I remember they fixed it really, really quick.
Okay. I'll take your word for it. But I mean, like, the fact that it released in that state is problematic. Yeah. And, of course, every time you die, and then, like, because I remember, like, because it was, like, I distinctly remember, like, because it's the tooltips that come up.
Yeah.
But I think they didn't, like, program the tooltips to, like, cycle or repeat or anything. So, like, just the title of the game would come up.
Yeah,
and then you'd be stuck on the game title for over a minute of, like, waiting to respawn or waiting to fast travel or things like that.
Yep.
So, like, like, they're just not always the best at like, this is I think the technology side of From Software is probably the weakest strength. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the weakest part about their games is how they push their technology. And then, of course, I mean, all these years later, like, Bloodborne still is not hitting a consistent 30 frames. Like, it's doing its best. But it
hits it most of the time.
It is, but there are ways that you can
manipulate.
You can manipulate it pretty easily to drop frames. Like I've done it, like especially like entering and exiting areas, and like then like turning the camera too fast and then rolling. Like you can get the frames to drop pretty fast. Not in like a detrimental way. Like we're not hitting single digits, but it's clearly like that's not 30.
Yeah.
And this is coming from someone whose like eyes are not hyper trained for frame rates. Where I'm like it's dropping right there. But I mean you go back all the way to like I don't want to throw Demon Souls in their face, but Demon Souls runs like garbage. Like on the original on PS3 runs like garbage. I don't want to throw that in their face because clearly that was we talked about that on the review. There's like a huge thing. Anyways, all of that to say, I think Elden Ring on Switch and GTA 6 on Switch are two different things.
They are, but even still, regardless of the technology side, it'd be way easier to get Elden Ring than GTA 6.
Where does Nate the Hate get his info from, and how hasn't he gotten sued? Nate the Hate gets his info from the people who work. Yeah, he's an industry insider.
It's why him and Moore's Law is Dead are like people I constantly see talked about a lot because they know people in the industry.
Yeah, and so
and
like
they have a good
developers or people in the studio specifically reach out to these people and say, "Hey, I want to remain anonymous," because it's not Nate the Hate that's like breaking laws. It's the people who are talking to Nate the Hate that are breaking the laws, right? So like it's these things the things, and a lot of industry like there's a lot of whispers. Like you hear a lot of whispers that like don't actually ever come true in the games industry. So like even us who have no direct ties or insider knowledge, like, we'll hear things and we won't talk about them because we don't believe them, or B, like, there's just not enough smoke to say that there's fire there to lean into it. It's only when, like, more comes out later that we go, and, the streets were saying this, a year ago of whatever. So, like, it's just a matter of, like, paying attention to media figures and, those media figures doing their job and networking with developers and people who work at these companies in order to get these little nuggets of information. The leakers or the people who, like, say, like, hey, this game is doing this, or rumor is that this game is in trouble, XYZ, they're not signed to these companies, so they're not breaking the law. There's no NDAs that they're breaking or anything like that. Well, I mean, they sign NDAs for, like, game previews. Maybe not Nate the Hate or Moore's Law is Dead, but, like, these are people who I also don't think we know who these people are.
They have their YouTube channel. Nate the Hate, I'm pretty, like, he puts his face there.
Does he?
Pretty confident, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So it's just it's a number of things. And people like this often on the corporate side don't get invited to events. So, like, these are people who, like, rub industry people the wrong way typically, just because of, like, we don't want you to tell people what we're not ready to tell them yet, as opposed to what's a good example, as opposed to, like, a God, who's the guy I like, I don't know, as opposed to, like, a Jason Schreier or a Tom Henderson or an Imran Khan, a Greg Miller, like, guys like those, like, where they're, like, they are there to be nice with the publishers and be nice with the companies in order to deliver content to the consumer and deliver the messaging to the consumer. So, it's the what level of space, or what space do you want to inhabit in this industry is what these different guys do. Do you guys follow Nintendo news as well? We follow all news. All news. There's just not a lot of great Nintendo news happening in these most recent weeks. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, let us know down in the comments below what you think about the stories that we've covered. Put your own 2 cents, and we'll come back next week and talk to them, or join our live streams over at twitch.tv/TwoPennyGames every Monday afternoon, in order to interact with us just like Danny has. Now, Connor, we got one more topic of the day. And this one's a little concerning, and it's to kind of circle back to that AI conversation that we were having earlier. And this is going to be our final topic. This is going to be my second penny of the day. Crimson Desert developer apologizes and promises to replace AI-generated... Damn it. I was trying to get it out before that. Crimson Desert developer apologizes and promises to replace AI-generated art. This is from Engadget.com from Jackson Chen. The developer behind the open-world RPG Crimson Desert has issued an official apology after players discovered several instances of AI-generated art in the game. Pearl Abyss posted on X that it has released the game with some 2D visual props that were made with, quote, experimental AI-generative tools, and forgot to replace them before launch. Just a day after Crimson Desert's launch, players took to social media posts to report... Just a day after Crimson Desert's launch, players took to social media to post reports of potential generative AI image usage. What? Generative AI usage. I'm sorry. Text. Pearl Abyss said on X that, quote, following reports from our community, we have identified that some of these assets were unintentionally included in the final release. Now, the game's Steam page has an AI-generated content disclosure which says that, quote, generative AI technology is used in a supplementary capacity during the creation of some 2D prop assets, which are later replaced. Moving forward, Pearl Abyss has said it will conduct a, quote, comprehensive audit of all in-game assets and are taking steps to replace any affected content. The developer said that these updated assets will roll out in upcoming patches, and that the team would internally review how it communicates with its player base to provide more, quote, transparency and consistency. Pearl Abyss isn't the only developer to fail to disclose the use of AI-generative assets in its game. Late last year, Sandfall Interactive, creators of Expedition 33, was stripped of its Game of the Year and Debut Game Awards from the Indie Game Awards for the use of generative AI in Clair Obscur Expedition 33 for placeholder textures that were mistakenly left in the game. Like Pearl Abyss, Arc Raiders developer Embark Studios is going back and replacing AI-generated material in its game after some backlash from its player base. That's a story that we covered last week. So again, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you like and subscribe to keep up to date on all of these smaller stories that we also cover that lead into bigger conversations of AI art. And this is a thing that I have been saying time and time and time again, every time we talk about generative AI art and how it's used in games and how a lot of these studios are using it as placeholders and then going back and replacing it later. But in the heat of development, which can often be messy and take up a lot of time, and Pearl Abyss is not the biggest studio in the world, right? And Crimson Desert being a highly ambitious game and by all accounts, not running the best all the time, but overall, like, looks beautiful and is satisfying a player base, which is great. But, you know, the reviews came out this last week. They're mixed. Some people love it. Some people hate it. Like, they are actually mixed, you know? Like, remember when mixed used to mean that, like, some people love it, some people hate it, and now we just use it as, like, a nice Band-Aid word to, like, not say, oh, this game got bad reviews? Like, no, Crimson Desert got mixed reviews.
Some people saying it's a masterpiece. Some people saying it's dog shit.
Yeah,
you know?
It is running the gambit of review scores, which is fascinating because Crimson Desert was poised to be this year's Clair Obscur. It was poised to be this year's. What's another example of a game that like kind of took the industry?
Came out like by Rush, I guess.
No, not really. But like it was poised to be this year's like filling in that title of like, oh, we weren't really expecting this, but it is going to be Wukong. Fallen Dynasty, of like, this is the game that like the consumers are like losing their shit about, you know, and some of these titles deserve it, some of them don't. It doesn't seem to me yet, I could be wrong, you know, they are seeing sales success. They've already passed 2 million sales. Congratulations, Pearl Abyss. Congratulations on just being able to launch the game, because that's really hard to do.
It's been in development for quite some time now.
Quite some time, right? And we have been saying, as people who have been following the story for a while, of like, I don't know, it could be dope, but it looks like they're biting off more than they can chew. And it seems to me that they've bit off more than they can chew. And I think that is why this has happened. And this is why I want to say again, as I've said so many times in the past, it's a slippery slope when you use generative AI like this. There are so many times where placeholder assets get put in these games and they don't get taken out later. I'm talking even pre-Gen AI was part of the conversation. I remember Uncharted 4, 2016, before any of this AI shit happened, plagiarized and accidentally left some art in the game, much like Crimson Desert has, where... Marathon, but to a different degree. But specifically, like, in Crimson Desert, it's like portraits and paintings on walls and stuff are clearly generative AI. The human beings in the art don't have faces. A miscount on number of limbs. Some people have 3 legs. Some people have 4 legs. There's horses with extra legs in some of these art images. They look rough, you know? But I'm not going to be like, how dare you, Crimson Desert devs. It's going to keep me from buying the game. Not that I was really interested in buying the game anyways, but until that gets replaced, I'm not interested in buying the game. But these things happen, you know? And it happens all the time. Back to my Uncharted 4 story, they had taken some painting of a ship from some other thing and just slapped it on one of the walls, and it was like a placeholder thing, and then in the throes of development, forgot to take it out, forgot to replace it, and so they I think they were like, not hit with a lawsuit, but there was like threatening with one or something like that, if my memory serves me, but it's hard to remember after all these years. But yeah, it was this is things that happen in games, is placeholders get put in, they don't have the rights to those placeholder images, and sometimes they get forgotten about, and they don't get picked up by the senses and the people scanning for these things. Like, sometimes these things just go awry. This is my thing with generative AI art, is because it's inherently theft, naturally, and putting it in your game means you're stealing from somebody else. It's just harder to identify who you're stealing it from.
And people were able to take notice of this one because it looked bad, because it was obvious.
We didn't see it in Clair Obscur so quickly because it looked better, and it was placed amongst a collage of images to make like it's supposed to be hard to identify that image, but it was found later in Clair Obscur's cycle.
While this one's just a blatant, just random piece of art.
Yeah,
someone turned
to look at the wall and went, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah. and the problem is that at a certain point when it becomes hard to just see it the same way these players obviously have, what's going to stop some developers from saying, well, are they really going to know? It's so hard to tell nowadays. If we just put this AI art in here and we say we're not using AI, who's the wiser? You know?
Right.
Does it really affect anything? It's not one of the main parts of it. But again,
now,
it's a slippery slope when you start doing that. It's, well, you can do it for anything at that point, especially if you can just squeeze it by the human eye.
Yes. And I do want to congratulate, or maybe that's too big of a word. But I want to give props to Pearl Abyss for being like, oh, we fucked up. We're going to work on it. Sorry. You know, clearly that game was coming in hot. Yeah. You know, like reviewers weren't getting console codes. You know, it was PC only. And so like that usually tells you a lot of what's going on. And from what I've heard, the console version of the game is in
The
a
roughest,
more, is in a more dire state than the PC version of the game.
Yep.
And yeah, it is just clear to me, and all reviewers were told, hey, there's a massive day one patch. So the game that the reviewers play is not the game that the people are playing.
Yeah.
You know, same thing happened to Cyberpunk 2077. You know, where hey, the game you're playing is not the game that we're releasing. You know, and that's unfortunate, but that's the times that we live in. You know what I'm saying? And it gets us to this point where we have to be fair in the conversation and be like, okay, well, clearly they were using it as placeholder images. Clearly they had intentions, I assume, with how they reacted. I'm going to believe them and say that they had intentions to replace it and it just got missed. People make mistakes. It happens, you know? I don't necessarily have a problem with us using placeholder images. It's when it gets released that I have a problem with it, you know? Especially if that was the intention. Our creators intentionally used generative AI voices with the base of the voice actor and the voice actor's permissions, but they intentionally used it in terms of release of the game. And wouldn't you know it, a year plus later, they're coming around and saying, it's actually better when you use the human being.
So,
shocker!
I forgot that first part, or third part, whatever it was you said. The actors let them?
Yeah.
I think we could say, whoever you were, you're an idiot.
Well,
you're
it's not.
Idiot. No.
That's not fair. Hold on. That's not fair. That's not fair.
Oh yeah, let's go.
Because this is a multiplayer focused game, so they're not hiring the most premier actors of all time, the ones who don't have as much influence or pull. These are probably people who are just trying to break in and get jobs. You know,
they're bigger idiots. They're trying to get in, and they're like,
you don't always have.
If
you say no, you don't get the job. You don't get paid. You don't get to eat.
I see. Well, that's how it makes it to where you never get a job.
Remember,
that's the whole point.
Acting is a profession in which you don't have a job all the time.
But the issue is that if you start saying, okay, you can do that, well, you're not going to have a job anyway because they're going to want to replace it. Why do they need some miscellaneous random guy to voice some
because again,
voice line in a video game
actors
character?
came in. Those actors came into the booth. It's not like every line that
no,
voice
I know,
says
yeah.
is, you know, it was I think the smaller stuff and for like ping system stuff, right? And so they agreed to allow that to happen to their voices. I would not have done that, and I'm sure there were other actors who also refused to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't blame someone for being like, "Hey, I'm behind on rent. I need a paycheck."
Oh, I can. Those people are sheep. They're always like, I'm going to make things worse for everybody for my own pathetic little life. Those guys are losers.
It's always easy to say that when you're not starving.
It's very easy to, yes. Do you know why? Because I wouldn't be in such dire straits that I need to agree to an AI thing to be able to eat at the end of the week. That person probably got to a point
you can
in
say
their
that.
life
You
where
can
they're a
say
failure.
that.
No. Those people are failures in their own life. Now I got to worry about your
It's not always about failure.
Oh, it is.
You're talking the arts, Connor.
Listen, this person, when that person dies, this theoretical person,
I know you're playing up to a character a little bit, but you're starting to offend me a little bit.
Well, I'm not really playing that much. Because here's the thing. If you're a human being, right, and that's your mark you leave behind, making it harder for people to be able to make money off of a career because AI is taking it over,
you're not necessarily making it harder for other people.
Well,
we don't know what's happening here. Like that's you're making assumptions on assumptions. We are assuming that they're starving artists, first of all.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if that's true or not. If they're not, then I have a problem with it. Because what are you doing? Because you have other opportunities. But not everybody has opportunities. Or some people are trying to just build a resume.
And hey,
it's hard to build resumes in the arts.
And you combine that with weak will, and then you get this, or ineptitude as well.
It's easy to stand on. I consistently make my rent payment every month. And say that and be like, hey, I got a fridge full of food and say that, and then be on the other side of it and have to be rejected all the time.
Well,
that's why I got out. That's why I got out of acting, is because I decided I didn't like the amount of rejection it took.
Yeah, that's fair. But if you're gonna get into an acting role where you're having to scrounge around for these, random quick voice lines for a multiplayer game, you probably should have other sources of income rather than entirely relying on that field.
They do. That's what I'm saying.
So
money is hard, especially right now where everything is so expensive. Like, it is really hard for people like this to make a living and to make it consistently. They were having this problem. They have these troubles when the economy is good. They have these troubles, You're looking for a job, man, and a lot of the jobs are shit. You're very often an extra in a fucking Geico commercial or something, and you have if you have lines, you have 3 lines, and it's to sell fucking a contact, a contact lens or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, or it's you get 1 line in a QT commercial or something like that. They don't pay you a lot for these things, Connor. They're like
so you're making the industry worse for pennies on the dollar? Because I don't think these pay a lot either. If those
I don't think it's on them. I think it's on people like us to not support these things
Oh, it
and
is.
to make it to where it's not functional that way, so that these companies stop doing it.
Okay, that's only half true because, like, for example,
Because
going
the
back to
artist gets
storyboard-
paid. The artist gets paid for showing up.
Yes, and that's kind
Or
of
the actor
issue
gets paid for
going
showing up.
back to the NVIDIA stuff, right? People that are implementing that technology.
Yeah.
It's heavily reliant on. Actually, it's more reliant on them than the consumers to say, no, we're not going to use these AI systems. We're going to push back on it.
In that sense, yes, but this
Yeah.
is a different thing.
Is it? Because it's the same thing.
I can see how you could say it is the same thing, but it's not the same thing.
It's like the
Because you can always get somebody to do it.
You can, yeah.
We're also assuming that these are actors and not
Random people.
Yeah. You know, because I just don't know enough about the background of these actors, and nor do I intend to, because that's their business.
That is true. Some people are. I forget there's always a population of people that are just sheep, so you can't really.
Well, there's also just a population of people who are just looking for a job, like normal people, not actors, just normal people, and they go, "What? My cousin Dave works at Embark and is say, hey man, we're looking for a voice. You want to do this thing real quick? Hey, you have to use AI." And that dude doesn't know anything about AI, so they're just doing the thing because they're not. They may or may not be artists. I don't know. We're making a lot of assumptions. I just don't like I'm going to assume there's some people in there who don't have pull and need to take whatever job they can because they need to build their resume. You know, it's a lot of, well, what have you done lately? Oh, I took part in the creation of one of the biggest games of last year. You know, what'd you do? I was voicing Arc Raiders. You know, which is like the thing that like people care the least about. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I saw, you know, Troy Baker got in trouble recently because he signed likenesses for or he got involved with a company that was using likenesses for AI and stuff, so he got in trouble for that. Yeah, Troy Baker should get in trouble for that. But dude who's just trying to pay his bills, I'm not going to attack them as an artist, you know, because you got to get paid. You got to eat. You know what I'm saying? But if people with pull, if people with influence start doing it, I got a problem with you. If a Laura Bailey starts doing it, if Matt Mercer starts doing it, I've been watching a lot of Critical Role.
Strange.
But if people like them start doing it, then yeah, I've got a massive issue with that because you don't need to. You know, you can say no and be okay. Most actors, 99% of actors, can't say no.
Yeah, because they're sheep. Exactly.
No.
That's why they wasted time going to college.
Because they need to eat, Connor. You need to eat.
Yeah, I don't care about that. I don't care whether you eat or not. I care about someone who's an innocent child who didn't help expand AI gets to eat, not you. Once you help for AI, go die in a hole. Whether you live or die is pretty relevant to me overall.
All right, you're playing into a character now. Ladies and gentlemen, let us know down in the comments below what you feel or how you feel about Crimson Desert. Hey, did the reviews knock you off of your excitement train, or did you still go in and buy into Crimson Desert anyway? Were you waiting for your next paycheck and then this AI stuff came out, so now you're going to pivot? Let us know down in the comments below. What do you think about all the stories we covered this week? Make sure you like, subscribe. Remember, Two Penny Game Club is coming back. 2 weeks, Bloodborne, hard truths. Hard truths. So until next time, have a great time. And Connor, say goodbye to the people.
Bye.